An alien fleet blanketed Earth like a tombstone, and humans laughed. Their missiles? Useless. Their invasion? Stopped cold by a shield no one even knew existed. Then one voice cut through the silence. "You poked the bear. Now we stop pretending." What happened next will change everything you thought you knew about humanity. But first, let's go back to the beginning. The silence that followed the arrival of the Zalix dreadnoughts wasn't born of confusion. It was deliberate. Across Earth's global command channels, leaders exchanged glances, not panic. There were no emergency broadcasts, no mass evacuations. Instead, observation protocols activated, passive scans, signal intercepts, threat profiling. Within 2 minutes, Earth's strategic awareness grid had mapped every Zelex ship down to their power signatures and ammunition reserves. The data wasn't hidden, it was streamed live, quietly, to every allied species on the Accord net. Earth wasn't reacting, it was watching. In Zalex war culture, this was unthinkable. Silence meant disarray. A lack of response indicated weakness or fear. Commander Jrak sat in his throne-like bridge chair, flanked by snarling officers in ritual armor, their bio-implants glowing with aggression. He didn't understand why Earth hadn't panicked. He expected defiance, or trembling, not this eerie stillness. "Begin broadcast jamming," he growled. "Cripple their communication lattice. Target orbital industry." His subordinates obeyed instantly. Seconds later, Earth's satellites blinked off the grid. Civilian comms went dark. A theater of dominance. The Dominion always began with humiliation. Make the enemy feel helpless before the first plasma bolt ever flew. But Earth's skies did not flicker with explosions. Its defense towers did not light up. And still, no retaliation came. Instead, a single feed flickered back online, an unsecured civilian network. From a camera phone on the balcony of a high-rise in New Manhattan, the image of the sky filled the screen. Towering black silhouettes hung motionless in orbit, eclipsing stars. Then, in clear English, "I guess somebody didn't get the memo." A laugh, human, casual, bored even. Across a dozen Zelex bridges, that broadcast was intercepted, translated, analyzed, and still failed to make sense. In a control room buried beneath Colorado granite, Admiral Jackson Ray exhaled slowly, folding his hands behind his back as he reviewed the tactical feed. "They're testing us," he said calmly. "Probing. Psychological warfare." A junior officer shifted nervously. "Sir, should we initiate standard planetary defense protocol?" Ray didn't even look away from the screen. "No. Let them think they've caught us off guard." Far above, Jrak grinned as his ships cast long shadows across continents. He didn't understand that Earth wasn't passive. It was calculating, and when humanity calculates, it doesn't scream, it waits. The footage from Earth didn't leak. It was released. By whom, no one knew. But soon, every galactic channel was saturated. Screens across markets on Darath Prime, in the lecture halls of Vextria, on the spire cities of the Aldrani Ring, all broadcast the same surreal fragments. A human family, lounging on a rooftop beneath the shimmering curve of the planetary shield, clinking glasses as alien ships loomed above like thunderclouds. A young woman in military fatigues winking at the camera as Zelex munitions pounded harmlessly against the energy dome behind her. A little boy in a home simulator laughing, arms flailing in mock dogfights, yelling, "I got another Zelex cruiser! Pew pew!" Across the galaxy, the laughter hurt more than weapons ever could. In the hallowed council chambers of Orion Station, delegates of the Accord shouted over one another. The Cathari accused the Zelex of war crimes. The Oralthians called for immediate intervention. Even the pacifist Even, who had not taken sides in 1,000 years, broke tradition to issue a warning. You have awoken a species that has never fought in our wars. You assume they are weak because they chose peace. You mistake kindness for incapacity. But Drac didn't hear them. Not truly. He was pacing the polished obsidian floors of his command flagship, clawed hands behind his back, eyes locked on the silent replay of his own missile barrage. One that should have flattened a city, disintegrated midair by translucent, shimmering fields. He ordered the footage studied, analyzed, reverse engineered. What power source can do that? He snapped. Unknown, his tech priest responded. The energy signature is unstable, non-Euclidean. It bends readings around it. It's impossible. Apparently not, the priest muttered. Drac struck him across the face. It wasn't just that Earth had survived the attack. It wasn't even that they were laughing. It was the calm, the calculated calm of a predator not yet done assessing. Worse still, the message they sent replayed in his mind on an endless loop. It hadn't been a threat. It was a statement of fact. And behind it was a quiet, human promise far more terrifying than any war chant. We've been playing nice. For the first time in his long, blood-soaked career, Drac felt it. Not fear, but its sharper cousin. Doubt. The declaration came not through the usual channels of diplomacy, but as a signal spike, a raw packet of unencrypted audio beamed directly into the Zalex battlenet. No encryption, no formalities, just a voice. Human. Cold. You poked the bear. We warned you. Now we stop pretending. That voice, Admiral Ray's, was archived within moments, dissected by Zelex linguistics engines, and run through psychological threat analysis protocols. The consensus returned was singular and final. Total escalation imminent. But by the time the report reached Drac's flagship, the escalation had already begun. It started in Sector 93. A black hole system, deemed uninhabitable by Zelex intelligence. Within seconds, 50 ships blinked onto long-range scanners, not from Earth, but from nowhere. They had no signature trails, no acceleration curves. One moment, space was empty. The next, it was full of ghosts. Cloaked dreadnoughts with hulls etched in quantum-seared alloy, dark geometry that warped sensors into gibberish. They moved in silence, without heat bloom or FTL wake. Not built for deterrence, built to erase. Each bore a codename stenciled in matte steel. Gatebreaker, a siege cruiser capable of folding space to rupture planetary shields from the inside. Sun Shiv, a stellar blade weapon designed to siphon solar energy into weaponized bursts, capable of scarring entire atmospheres. Lazarus, an autonomous warforged AI ship that operated beyond the laws of time compression, commanding fleets across parallel instances of space. Zelex commanders, veterans of 20 cycles of war, froze. And then the lattice collapsed. Not the fleet net, not the communication mesh, everything. One by one, their command chains went blind. Supply AIs went dark. Their archive nodes, centuries of imperial doctrine, war maps, planetary data, genetic archives, corrupted and blank. Whole civilizations blinked into amnesia. The Dominion's empire had not been invaded. It had been unwritten. Panic surged. Orders clashed. Protocols failed. Earth did not follow up with speeches or ultimatums. Instead, the orbital strikes came, not dramatic salvos, not theatrical explosions. Surgical. Silent. Terrifying. Zelex battlecruisers detonated with pinpoint blasts. No shrapnel, no survivors. Just absence, like a scalpel had passed through the stars. Across command centers, junior officers whispered the same phrase. They weren't unprepared. They were hiding. And somewhere on his darkened bridge, Drac stared into the emptiness of the holomap, his once mighty fleets now flickering ghosts, realizing too late, Earth had never been afraid. Earth had been waiting. The cafe was modest, a corner spot on 9th and R Street, just far enough from Capitol Hill to be anonymous, yet close enough to remind anyone seated there that this planet was not to be underestimated. The air smelled of roasted coffee beans and spring rain. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. No guards, no weapons, just 2 men, 1 human, 1 alien, separated by a battered wooden table. Drac sat rigid, his armor removed, stripped down to a simple tunic. The scars of war ran deep across his scaled face, and yet the deepest wound was not physical. His gaze, once filled with contempt, now held something rarer: recognition. Across from him, Fleet Admiral Jackson Ray sat like he belonged there, as if he weren't the architect of the most devastating counteroffensive in galactic memory. His posture was relaxed, but not careless. He sipped his coffee slowly, watching Drac with the eyes of a man who had no need to gloat. "You wanted to see what humans were like when they stopped being polite," Ray said. His voice carried no venom, only gravity. "You satisfied?" Drac didn't answer at first. He glanced out the window, at the people strolling by, completely unaware that their world had just shifted the balance of galactic power. No parades, no monuments. Just life, continuing as if annihilating an empire was an afternoon errand. A flicker of something crossed Drac's face. Not shame, not regret. Something harder to admit. Respect. "You tricked the galaxy," he murmured. "You hid what you are." Ray leaned in, the corner of his mouth lifting ever so slightly. "No. We just never needed to show it. Until now." That was the lesson, and it echoed far louder than any explosion. Earth didn't conquer. They didn't dismantle systems or install governors. They simply let silence and precision do the speaking. The Zalix dominion folded in a single breath. No final charges, no glorious deaths. Just one name, whispered like a storm warning: Earth. In the weeks that followed, threats turned to apologies. Old grudges were quietly buried. Entire planetary systems reconsidered their alliances. The galaxy was not ruled by fear. It was now guided by memory. And somewhere, light years away, in a military academy buried beneath the frost-covered plains of Ixtal, a young alien cadet replayed the footage of Earth's campaign for the 100th time. His hand trembled slightly as he whispered, not to anyone, but to himself, "Never laugh at Earth again."